Welcome to the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Shriver, brought to you by Arlo Revolution. Each week, Aaron connects melodies and memories with fans and artists from all genres of life. When all else in life is gone, only music will be left to leave the legacy of life's adventures. Please welcome your host for the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast, Aaron Shriver.
You guys ready to have fun tonight? It's going to be a good one tonight. Definitely need a show after the last 10 days, but it's going to be a good night tonight. I got to my first concert in like 6 months on Saturday. Got to see a good buddy, a friend of the show, Mr. Lewis Bryce. But before we jump into everything, welcome to episode 49 of the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast, a place where we connect melodies and memories with both fans, artists, and some of the most interesting people in and around the music community. I'm your host tonight, Aaron Shriver. I did see before we started tonight, we had like 41 shares already. If you guys could hit the share button real quick, get us over 50. Let's just blow this up tonight. Let's have a good night. But shout out to our sponsors on Arlo Revolution. You saw their amazing video, cinematic wedding films, music videos, and promos. Find them at arlorevolution.com. Our on-screen sponsors, Art on a Higher Wire by Miss Joelle. Original and custom artwork inspired by your life moments, treasured photos, and memories. Find them on Facebook. And a huge shout out to Corey Oliphant and the Original Church Choir. We're happy to have them every week, and we thank them for our continued support. Once again, if you guys are looking for ways to support the show, our Patreon is always a great way to start. It is the heart of our show. I'm going to share the link really quick in the chat. Definitely check it out. All of our tiers just went with a new annual subscription, so you could go over there and check it out. But if Patreon is something you can't do, and I did mention it, if you could share the stream tonight or anywhere you could find the show, Apple Podcast, Pandora, iHeart, anywhere, if you guys could like it, share it, 5-star it, whatever you got to do. We just hit 300,000 views recently on Facebook, and going into everything, we just had our busiest month in the month of August with over 1,000 downloads, which is over doubled what we've been doing. So thank you guys again for the growth of this show. We're getting ready to start our third season, and I cannot wait for that. I did not forget, but I was so busy to do stuff. I was supposed to pick the winners tonight for our August Patreon, and I'm not gonna be able to do that. If you're in the Patreon group, I will come and do a live later on this week and pick the winner for this prize. Just had a lot going on this week, so I didn't get a chance to really finalize stuff. But speaking of a lot going on, and I do want to go ahead and talk about this again. I talked about it last week, and I want to throw a couple images up on the screen and briefly talk about kind of what's going on in the world right now. The word Kenosha Strong is really popular among a lot of people, and I'm getting emotional. I already started talking about it. It's been an emotional 10 days. If you guys are friends with me on my personal page, you've kind of, on my personal Facebook, you've kind of seen kind of a little bit of the stuff that I've been viewing and kind of teach my kids. But today the president was about a mile from my house, and we had to go see. So I had to say, on no matter who you support out there, what side of the spectrum you are, whenever you have either Air Force One or a motorcade or anything that close to your home, you have to go see something because that's part of history. And I believe what's going on in the world right now is history. And I think change is coming because it needs to come. But if you guys are seeing what's going on, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to get into politics. I know I do apologize, but I live 2 miles from, or where the president was today, but about 7 miles from where everything's going on in Kenosha. And I just wanted to say, but I keep them in my thoughts and prayers, and I wanted to bring it up on the show tonight. But I will take the politics videos or pictures off there. I do apologize. I just had to put that on there because he was close to the house today. But keep them in your thoughts and prayers if you can as they rebuild their community and as we build our home. So, all right, moving on to that. Are you guys ready for a good show tonight? Because I know I definitely am. Going off of this, when I started digging into artists for the show, I came across this guy's music, and I came across originally his cover song, the way I kind of came across Everett a few shows back with their show Rocket Man. I heard Billie Jean by this guy, and it kind of, the way he kind of made it his own, really kind of hit me. And I'm like, all right, this is going to be a guy that I want to talk to. I want to find out where he came from and how he got to Nashville and his path. And when I started digging into it, I saw that it was a lot of grassroots style, fan base style. He built his social media one fan at a time. And he kind of reminded me of somebody else and a lot of stuff that's behind my head here, and another artist that kind of really built it from the ground up. So I cannot wait to bring him on. So without further ado, guys, here's Mr. Tyler Rich. What's up, buddy? How you doing tonight?
What's happening, man? Good to see you, brother.
Let me turn you up a little bit. There you go. Welcome to the show, man. So I just got to address the elephant in the room right off the bat. You dropped the biggest announcement last night. You are finally probably feeling accomplished this week with the announcement of your debut album dropping this Friday, man. How awesome is this?
Oh, man. It's overwhelming in every good way possible. These things, it's like, can seem so simple to somebody that's just a fan of music, but man, you know, we just put everything into this music, and it takes so long going through so many songs, and I'm extremely excited, man. It's gonna be good.
And I like it because you got a chance to, I don't want to say like to you and to a lot of the newer fans, it's going to be new music, but to a lot of us that's kind of seen your journey, it's kind of a best of with your journey with Big Machine. And since you've been there, because there are a lot of songs that you have released, you're going to come out with, but these are going to be the final mastered versions probably, and just going to be amazing on the album. But how does a song kind of resonate that you've already put out that you kind of keep promoting and then finally put on this record? Because I even saw Billie Jean made the album, which is amazing.
Yeah, man, it's cool because it's like it's, you know, you put out songs here and there, you drop singles and you put out an EP and you do all these different things, and then to re-release them, because I mean I've had an EP out for almost a couple years now, and there will be fans that come to shows that they will play like Adrenaline or Take It or Leave It, and some people don't know that song, but they know the other ones.
Yep.
And I'm like, that song's been out just as long, and it putting it all into one collection, one stamp, and just big chapter has been really important to me, because it can bring a new life to songs I've already put out, because brand new songs are dragging people to the album. They're bringing people there to listen. And, you know, and I put them in a strategic order. And it might be the music fan in me. You know, I'm a little OCD with organization. And like, okay. I don't know if it's just because I'm so used to records and CDs and albums and just going and buying that and being so excited to put it in, you know, and it's like that nostalgic feeling of, hey man, this is the way that this artist put these songs in this order for this reason. And until this Friday coming up when it comes out, or Thursday night, if you go to my page, you know, it's a bunch of random singles and a bunch of random stuff. Yeah. As a music fan, I go to pages like that and I see that, and sometimes I have a hard time figuring out what I'm supposed to listen to. You know what I mean? Like, am I supposed to listen to this? Am I supposed to dig? What am I supposed to do? And so I'm excited that it's going to be streamlined, linear, one big chapter on my page.
That's awesome, man. And talking about that, I mean, I'm a huge Eric Church fan. That's kind of what I built this show on, was his fan base. And you're probably going to be in front of one of the most rabid fan bases in country music. But he always quoted and said that he doesn't make singles, he makes albums and hopes for singles. And the way you were just talking, I heard a lot of that because you wanted to put it OCD in order. Now, when you're putting in order, is it because of the way the flow? Or are you trying to tell a story? Or is this just one whole project that you're trying to portray?
Yeah, that comes in waves, because you try to tell the story, but at the same time, I kind of like to think, I mean, somebody like Eric is just so talented, and he also, at least from what I've read, I mean, I'm sure that we all know he's talented, not because I read that, but I mean, at least from what I read, that he will take a section of time and he'll focus on the songs right then and there of what he wants to write, and then he'll take time off. And that's the old traditional way of, you know, making an album, is you used to write an album, release it, tour for a couple of years, write an album, release it. And I feel like that's very easy to then tell a story.
It's the easy route to take.
Yeah. Whereas in like this, man, this is 4 years of songs, 4 years of hundreds of songs, you know, and then like picking and choosing. And they do tell a story. You know, it's called 2,000 Miles because my wife lives in LA. I live in Nashville. We both technically live both places, but she's an actor. I'm a country singer, so we have to go back and forth. But we make the best of it. It's all we've ever known. Yeah, exactly. And we're like, but over 2,000 miles back and forth for 4 years. These are the songs that happened in the middle of that hustle, that back and forth.
That's nice. And there what's kind of got you from point A to point B. Like, and also probably a couple of them was missing her on while you're gone, and then when you're back home, and the short time you got. 'Cause I know I was probably listening. You guys only had what, like 2 or 3 weeks on, and then had so much time off or something at a time. Like when tour life is going on.
Yeah, so our regular rotation, which it works really well for us because it's all we've ever known. But like 4 days on and then about a week off. Usually about 3 to 5 days on, about a week off. Sometimes a couple weeks off, sometimes a whole week on. But for the most part, that was about the way it went. And now all of a sudden with quarantine, we've been together for 5.5, 6 months straight, pretty much, and finally feel married, so that's cool. Like a regular old married couple,
right? So I want to know where you started playing the guitar at age of 14, and then you released your first independent single, Radio, in 2014. I want to know what kind of music you started playing on that guitar, and kind of like what your parents kind of influenced you on, and what got you to Radio in 2014.
Yeah, man. So music was always huge in my family. It was, and it still is. I grew up, my Uncle Tim was this guitar playing, football playing, just he was the band when I was a little kid, and he'd get together at Christmas, barbecues, birthdays. He'd always show up with his guitar, and sometimes with a bunch of other friends, and they'd all have their guitars, and they just sit around and play music for hours. And I just remember growing up and just watching them in these rooms and being like, man, crazy how one song can all of a sudden suck the entire attention out of a room and put it right on them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're this life of a party. And I was like, I want to do that, man. I need to be a part of this group, and I just wanted to play music with my uncle. That's where it started. And, I grew up listening to a lot of rock with my dad. And then my mom was country when I was a kid. And she turned me on to, George Strait and Garth Brooks and all that stuff. And I used to be obsessed with the movie Pure Country when I was a kid. George Strait was dusted before I knew it was a chick flick. And I just had like all these influences coming from all over, and then back to my uncle that taught me how to play, like Creedence Clearwater, Michael Jackson. We'd play like acoustic versions of those songs, Brooks and Dunn, Garth Brooks. I mean, the dance is like, there's never a family get together that we don't sit around and sing the dance. That's like one of our family traditions. It could be Christmas and we might sing Jingle Bells, but we're for sure singing the dance as well. And that all kind of led to just, man, I just had this dream. I started playing in high school, started meeting the only other few people in my tiny town that played instruments. And we started random bands in high school and then toured out of high school. And I didn't even move to Nashville until about 5 years ago. I was doing everything in LA, and I was in and out of bands and finishing school. And I finally was like, man, I'm going to give this one more shot. I'm not doing the band route. I'm going to be a solo artist, and I'm going to be a singer-songwriter. It's going to be what it is. And so I went in the studio, started working on a bunch of music in LA, and the producers were like, man, what do you got? What are you working on? And every song I pulled out was about my hometown, or it was about my ex-girlfriend that I hated. It was, this is that. And it was all these very country, songs. And I was working with primarily pop producers in LA. And they're like, man, what's up?
From Northern California, I mean, that's where you came from or anything. Was country real like prominent? I know someone in the chat did bring up like Bakersfield, and like if that was kind of influencing you at all, like kind of like the Dwight Yoakam area or everybody that's came out from Bakersfield area. But how prominent is country music in like Northern California?
So it's interesting. I see that from Chris, the Bakersfield sound. So that I mean, you got like Buck Owens, Merle Haggard, Dwight Yoakam, all those guys out of that area. And I would say the Bakersfield sound was more inspiring for California as a whole rather than the sound was, if that makes sense. Because people we're so often told like, oh, you're from the West Coast, you can't like country. I'm like, you ever heard of the Wild Wild West? What are you talking about? Like, it's all desert and farms out here, man. And, unless you're in San Francisco or LA, it's just a massive farmlands, man. I grew up in arguably kind of like the middle of nowhere. And massive agriculture. Yeah, we grew up close to the Bay Area. We grew up close to the beach. But that's why a lot of us listen to hip hop. That's why a lot of us listen to rock. A lot of us listen to country, and most of us listen to all of it.
Yeah, it's a good influence. I mean, because you get all around. Yeah,
and like John Party grew up like 30 minutes away from me. we got like Devin Dawson grew up in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And then if you look at California as a whole, you got like Gary Allen, Cam. I mean, there's all sorts of incredible artists out here.
And then you said parties from up north.
Yeah, Party and I grew up, like 30 minutes apart from each other. We didn't know each other until I moved to Nashville.
That's crazy.
My Uncle Tim that actually taught me how to play was Party's football coach.
Oh wow!
Oh my
man.
God, you were pulling up these pictures, man. They were so old. Look at this girl down here.
Picture, especially when we talk about where you're like how we came from. This one you're on my left here, in the black. Definitely, that's like very Scott Weiland-ish. You could tell you had your rock, man. Like I just look at that, I'm like, yeah, I see Scott Weiland in that photo just from way back. But
dude, that's my rock.
Oh, go ahead.
That's my rock days for sure.
Well, even you mentioned Devin Dawson. I know he came from like a death metal band out in Cali.
Dude, and they were heavy. And,
they still have music, I think, on Bandcamp or somewhere. But so the difference is a song that you actually wrote with Devin and Rhett Akins. But let's talk about the difference a little bit. I mean, because that was kind of one of your first songs when you got to Nashville that you really your first single, right?
Yeah. So I actually didn't co-write The Difference. That was an outside song. And it was, I had gotten my deal and I had written 200 songs or something. And we knew like our favorite second single, we knew our favorite third single. We had all these like plans lined up for these songs, but we couldn't really figure out what was going to be that number one that was going to make a splash, that was going to be, attract enough attention to keep people listening. And so we started doing these pitch meetings and stuff. And I remember I was sitting in this office and we had been listening to songs for 5 hours. And I'm not exaggerating, everybody listening, 5 freaking hours. And it was hour 4.5 when I heard The Difference. And I was hooked right away. And then at the end of the actual hook, the chorus, when the lyric flipped and was like, and I want to be the difference, I was like, oh my God, dude, we have to have this song. Who wrote this? That voice, that sounds familiar. And then he's like, oh, Devin. I was like, oh, that's why I love it. That's California right there.
Yep.
And then you got like Rhett Akins, man. You can't say no. Rhett Akins is on a record, man. You can't.
Oh, that's what I was saying. And Ben and Jacob also on it. Yeah, I actually just have written down. I apologize about the co-written part. I had to read my notes a little better. But definitely it was an amazing song. Going back real quick, you mentioned about George Strait, Dusty. So I want to know about like your first concert experience. I know you went and saw George Strait. Was that your first concert when you saw him?
First concert ever. Yeah, I was about 8 years old. And it's funny because literally I used to watch Pure Country all the freaking time. And my cousin came over one day. He's like, Ty, George Strait is playing down the street, Arco Arena, Sacramento. You want to go? And I was like, who's George Strait? He's like, George Strait in the movie you watched. I was like, Dusty? He's like, yeah. Dusty's a real life country singer, man. He's going to play it. And so that album, the soundtrack had just come out and stuff. So he played like all the songs. It was like the equivalent of a kid going to like Disney on Ice. You go or like a musical at Disneyland or something. And like they sing all your favorite songs from the movie, So I went and I was sing a song about the heartland, just like all these records when I was a little kid. And I was obsessed, man. I loved it. And yeah, that was the very, very first concert.
That is awesome. Mine was Kiss in mid-90s. So I'm like, I was definitely branded for life off that. Dude. So my dad just picked me up from school and took me to see Kiss. I was like, oh God, this is here this goes. But yeah, I could definitely see. What was that?
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was wild, man. 'Cause I had no clue where we were going, but it's kind of like the same way. I mean, I was watching Kiss, and to me, I watched the cartoons and stuff. So like going to see them, like that's why I want to bring up that story. To me, it was like see them in the flesh was like, oh wow, this is like what I watch. And it wasn't just, it was more the music. Cause for me, they're all their branding, everything else. And for you, it was going to see George Strait was like, oh, this is Dusty. And you put 2 and 2 together, that kind of music is just more than concerts, and it goes into the TV realm and the movies. And so, but it was really cool when I heard that story. I want to bring that up.
My second concert was Metallica, man. I was 14. Me and a buddy went with his parents. We didn't see the parents the whole day. We were just alone roaming around. It was Korn, Metallica, Kid Rock, Powerman 5000, and System of a Down's first U.S. tour.
Dude, I'm so glad you said Powerman, because they opened up for Kiss. When I saw him like 90, I think it was 96. And someone's like, oh, Rob Zombie's little brother. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
I'm like, no way. They're like, yeah, it's Rob Zombie's little brother. And it was like, they were still a rap group. It was before they really hit the rock scene. They're still doing like some rap stuff back in the day. But yeah, my second concert was Hootie and the Blowfish because I told my mom what happened to me at Kiss. I got my first Kiss at a Kiss show when I was like 16 years old. And she's like, yeah, none of that no more. So that's why I was like, I was branded for life. So,
Oh man,
but
I love
speaking
it.
of concerts and kind of all this else, your first headline tour was supposed to happen this year, and quarantine and everything else just shut it down. I mean, what happened? Because I know you kind of just found out right at the last minute. You just got everything got pulled out from under you almost.
Yeah, we were on tour with Lanco,
Mhm.
and we were did a show in Wisconsin at Green Bay. That was our last show, and then everybody went home, and then 2 days later, I grabbed the dog and flew out here to LA because Sabina was still working a little bit. We didn't really know what to expect, and then all of a sudden, they're like, "Hey, just letting you know, man, like your tour was supposed to start the next week at the Troubadour." That's the picture. So, yeah, Troubadour was the kickoff of the tour. The whole thing canceled, rescheduled, canceled again, rescheduled, just canceled again for October. And so now we're looking at 2021. But so that Troubadour picture, I love that you throw up pictures. It's cool. That
Keep it interactive, man.
yeah, that so that was when all of the George Floyd protests and all this stuff started happening. And so they boarded up all the windows because there was rioting and stuff going on in LA and everywhere, obviously. And so we were taking a walk, and even though the show got canceled at the Troubadour, I mean, for everybody, I'm assuming everybody knows what the Troubadour is. It's just one of the most famous venues in the country. To sell it out in LA, closest Sunset Strip, where you can go watch as much free music as you want, like every night of the week, was one of my biggest accomplishments as an artist. Just being able to sell it out in Los Angeles was just massive for me, and I was so excited. But the only silver lining of it canceling for so long is that in the window is a big poster that still says Tyler Rich sold out on the schedule.
Dude.
There's a whole schedule of like 30 shows, and 3 of them are sold out, and one of them's ours. And so we walked by, like, oh, let's go see if it's still there. And then the whole place was boarded up, and I was like, shit.
Man, yeah, it's so wild. That's why I saw this photo. I definitely want to share because it just, I mean, that's 2020 in a nutshell with the border windows, the mask on. It's just, I mean, who would have predicted 2020? I mean, especially being on the artist side. I mean, so how fast did the whole digital thing come to you? Because I saw just about a month or so ago, you did a couple of your band members, you guys got together and did the little virtual concert. But how quick did you start having to do stuff? I know a lot of artists started really having to adapt.
Dude, so so the virtual show that we did, that was actually just about 2 weeks ago, and that was just the first thing we've actually done as far as performing. That first week of quarantine, man, it's like you said, everybody's trying to adapt. It's everybody trying to understand and adapt to a new business model right away. And my whole idea, my goal was, man, what do I do? Everybody's online right now doing free music. What do I do to make people come to my page? And so I created, based off of my song, The Difference, created the Distance Tour. And so the Distance is, it was Tuesday nights. I would do Tyler and Friends Sing Behind the Scenes. And it was me and a couple songwriters, like they'd showcase songs where they'd be like, man, I wrote this song for Tim McGraw. Here's the story. And so my fans were getting into this whole new world of getting to know these songwriters. And then the next part of that show, I would play a song that I wrote with that writer. And then I would try to cover one of their other hits. And then they would close the show with one of their other songs. And so that started getting, it was so cool. And I slowed it down just because I started running out of people because now it's been half a year, but it's like, and we'll have people that I know, I was mostly bringing on friends and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then Fridays I would do a Feels Like Home. Leading up to the release of my single Feels Like Home, I was doing a Feels Like Home couch concert series, just hanging out on my couch, playing songs, playing music. And then Sundays, my wife's wild, crazy, fun, you name it. And we'd do a Leave Her Wild Sunday brunch. And like, if we can't go on rooftops, we can't drink with our friends on a Sunday afternoon or whatever people do, why don't we bring the brunch home, bring the fans into our house, and have like a drinking brunch show every Sunday with them? And so we would bring on guests, surprise guests, other athletes, actors, musicians, and they would join on, and we'd catch up like this, and then do like drinking game trivia. And so kind of like you put down here, because I ended up bringing that concept of this Sunday show of drinking game trivia and hanging out, catching up into my live virtual show.
Okay.
And so this was on the bottom left where it says community cooler, drink if you haven't been dancing. So in front of me is a bunch of screens, much like the Zoom screen you see to the right, but a bunch of screens where I played a show and I could hear people and sing along with them and I could hear them clap. And so I fused that brunch show into that. And so I would call random fans off the screen and throw them on the screen behind me. And then things like that would pop up and I'd challenge them to drinking games or actual trivia. And I've been making the most of this quarantine thing of trying to keep people entertained, including myself, because I'm bored as hell.
I hear you, man. So in the other picture I shared is showing the difference was certified was a gold single. But how odd is this? Obviously is part of your gold party that you had to have on Zoom. I mean, another odd is this probably 2020 that this happened in this video here or this picture here, right?
Yeah, man. It's funny because you have this dream, right? Everybody's got this dream of my thing. I was like, when I get a record deal, my first goal, I want a plaque. You know, that's my first goal. And then you have this dream of how it always happens. You're playing a show, and then all of a sudden the show gets stopped, and somebody runs out, and they've got a plaque, and you get this huge, incredible moment with your fans. And I was not expecting it to happen like this on a Zoom call, but I almost feel like it was more special this way. It was I got to see everybody on one page that made it possible with me. You know, my entire team that works their ass off. Every single person was on that screen. And so it wasn't one person running on stage to give me a plaque and then a bunch of phone calls. It was all 20 of us celebrating in the same moment. And it was different but special, to say the least.
And you look how happy you are just from getting that award, and just because it's accomplishment. And just like this Friday, new album's coming out, and it just feels like all this that you've been working so hard for is finally coming together, and it's finally just gonna blow up this Friday. I mean, I can't wait for this album. I think it's gonna be amazing. But another thing, talking about the whole virtual thing, tell us about what you're doing at the basement Friday, because this sounds badass, dude.
Doing on what on Friday? Oh, the basement.
Yeah.
So we are playing. The basement is, in my opinion, it's like one of the troubadours of Nashville. You know, it's such a cool freaking venue, and we're doing a live show there. It is only virtual, but we're playing the album front to back. So it comes out that day, awesome, and we are doing song 1 until song 11, starting with Feels Like Home, ending on Billie Jean, and something we've never done. You know, we've never even played Here With You, which is the 5th song on the album.
Oh, nice.
We're gonna rehearse it right before. We're gonna rehearse it during sound check, and then mess it up. It's gonna be great.
That always happens, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I saw
that's the basement.
Going back, and I saw Eric Church perform Chief track 1 through 12 or 13, and it's really cool to see how they all flow live. So it's definitely going to be something I'm going to tune into and watch, because I really want to see how everything flows, and I think it's gonna be just great to see how you react to all of it live, one song into the other. And I'm sure it'll help you out, especially when you get out on the road. You'd be like, oh, these songs fit well together. This is all right. It'll help build you a set list when you get back out on the road.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say
totally.
This photo.
And honestly, man,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you know, Ben, my bass player, and he's my music director in the band. And oh my God, this picture. And the two of us, we sat down for a long time to figure out the album track listing. And we wanted the keys to flow right. And we wanted it to flow right. And so, like you said, it's going to be awesome to do it live.
So I watched a lot of videos where you're still playing with Tib, or playing for Tibbs back in Cali, and just talking about it. Coming up, you just hearing you use your social media a lot. So I heard you talk with the Whiskey Riff guys. I'm really good friends with them, and talking about how like your tattoos and kind of like honeymoons, and kind of almost set up your engagement, which we're going to talk about that here in a second. But how was it for you, especially coming up, having that social media tool and building your fan base? And I just wanted to show this picture, because I mean, for 10 years, from Red Robin to what you're doing there. Is that Red Robin picture?
That's Red Robin. Yeah, for sure. I worked at Red Robin for a long time, man. I was a busser, and then a server, and then a trainer, and then a bartender, and then management. And I mean, I did everything there.
What was your favorite burger they had?
The Bonsai, man. No, the Raging Cajun.
Oh, yeah, I like the Raging Cajun.
Yeah, dude, so good, so good. But What was the question about it though? I'm sorry.
I have no.
I started thinking about Red Robin again. I was like, man.
No, but it's kind of like when you building your social media and having the social media with you, and kind of like in this time from building from Red Robin, playing for Tips, and going to Nashville. How was it building that whole fan base? Because when I went back and started researching, it looks like you had a grassroots style fan base, and you really didn't. You did a lot of it independently, especially leading up to your first single, Radio. But how was it? I mean,
it was all grassroots, man. I would go to I would go to lines of shows, people waiting to get into a show, and I would just hand out these little promo cards, basically the size of a business card, my face on it, and then on the back it would say, "Go here for a free song on Reverb Nation." That was before Spotify really was coming on. Like, oh my God, I can get a free song. Follow me here, and I'll give you a free song on Reverb Nation. And I started meeting people that way, and then I would go to like Stagecoach with like 5,000 of them, and I'd walk around. And Stagecoach is a big country festival out in California, for anybody that doesn't know. And I walk around with like 5,000 of them, and I would just tell people, "Hey, I'm playing next year. They're letting me promote ahead of time. Check it out. Hey, I'm playing next year. They're letting me promote ahead of time." And
were you really
in my mind,
or were you just saying you were?
No, never. And the thing is, I thought
Nice.
in my mind I wasn't lying, because I was like, if I hand enough of these out and I blow up enough, I will play this next year. Was always my mentality. And so I just kept doing that. And then when I started getting booked for shows, like opening up for Easton Corbin, opening up for Cole Swindell, Sam Hunt, all these people on the West Coast, I was like, why would I sit inside and just hang out in a green room when I could go meet people? So I'd go out to the line, because people don't know who the opener is. They don't care. They're there to see Sam Hunt. They're there to see Dan and Shay. And so I would go out to the line. I'd be like, "Hey, what's up? I'm Tyler. Nice to meet you. I'm opening the show tonight. Here's a free song. If you like the show, hit me up on Instagram." And I would do it. Just hundreds of them, man. Hundreds and hundreds. And then all of a sudden 10 turned into 20, turned into 40, turned into 80,000 followers on Instagram. All of a sudden I've got like over 100,000. And it was just this, that really sounds fast, but that's over a few years. And then I end up leads up to I'm going to release Radio. And Radio was the song that was on there. Yeah. So it all really started once Radio came out. I had pretty much a clean slate. And as soon as I put Radio up on Reverb Nation, that's when I made those cards and I fully started promoting hard. And I'd sit on at the gym. I'd go on like the stairs and like where I would usually watch Netflix or something. And I would sit there and I'd go on country hashtags and I would just like and comment on people's pictures before bots could do that for you, before you could pay for something to do that. I would sit there for hours till my wrists hurt, just hitting like, comment, love that shirt, love that picture. Never check out my song, never this. It was always compliment them or like engage with what's happening in the post.
Connect with the fan. Yeah. I mean, that it was huge. I mean, probably for the fan, because it's like, oh, he took the second that it took you to send that message or whatever. It was huge for that fan. So I remember social media though is so great now. The help with campaigns. When I first started kind of really getting into music, I live outside Chicago, and I was on Disturbed's street team, and we used to put their stickers on toll booths. Like where people would throw the money in, you'd put their Disturbed sticker right there. And then we have little single cassettes. I still have a couple of them, like their original cassettes, I think, with like wherever their first single was, Down with the Sickness or whatever. And we go to malls and hand out these little cassettes, almost like the little cards. So it's just crazy to see how music has evolved. Their promotions have evolved over the years.
Dude, I remember street teams very well. That's why 100% why I even had the idea to do it, man. Because like, even back then, go back 4 years when I was in bands, I used to walk up and down the lines of shows with a Discman with headphones. Hey, do you want to listen? You want to see CD for $2? Like anything you can do to. But now social media, it's like you can do that without being on the street. As long as you're effective enough and genuine when you're doing it, because there's a million people trying to also do it at the same time. Whereas if you're at a show, you're the only person walking up and down a line.
And it's what are you doing different? And you always, I mean, for me, you gotta look at they're doing this. I mean, even in the podcast world, right? They're all doing this. What can I do differently? I mean, you already commented the photos. You love the photos, and that's something where I looked at. I'm like, okay, everybody's doing normal podcasts. What can I do different? And I think you looked at it the same way. And I see that a lot in your music. And I mentioned that with Billie Jean, your style, the song Billie Jean. If you guys have not heard that out there, that's really what turned me on to Tyler Rich's music, was just the way he made Billie Jean his. And I loved seeing that was on your album, dude.
Thanks, man. I love that.
So before before we really start getting into the music, I know we're gonna have to start wrapping things up. So I wanted to talk about two quick things. One, kind of about, you talk about Stagecoach. That's where you met your wife, right? Was Stagecoach?
Yeah, we met 2016 Stagecoach.
That's awesome, man. Now you had a really unique engagement story, and I know we only have like 4 or 5 minutes till we have to move on, but can you sum it up real quick?
Yeah, man. So we were in Jamaica for a friend's wedding, and I was like, man, this is the only. I did not do it at the wedding or around the wedding.
Yeah.
So but I was like, man, I got to use this Jamaican trip because we're doing a whole separate vacation afterwards on the other side of the island. And basically, in a nutshell, I was back and forth with the resort a long time trying to figure out how they could help me with this proposal. And Sabina figures out everything. She's super smart, and so I tricked her into thinking that the hotel was giving us a bunch of upgrades because we were going to promote the hotel while we were there. And so they came up and they're like, hey, so part of your upgrade package for promoting our hotel, is we're going to do these meals and this, and the head chef's going to make you this 5-course meal above the water over here in this cabana and all these things. And so I had to trick her with that. And then so now flash forward a couple days later, we're up in this cabana, we're eating this like amazing lunch. And I was like, I got to definitely get this thing filmed and pictures and video, or she's gonna kill me. And so but I was like, here we are at this resort, she sees anybody walk up with cameras, she's gonna be like, what the hell's going on? And she's gonna know right away. So I paid the film crew to work for an hour walking around the resort, taking pictures of people, handing them business cards, acting like a fake company where they could go up to the front and pay for their pictures later. So that she would see it. And so they came, and then because there was a musician walking around, like, oh, hey, do you want the musician to play music? We'll take a picture. Tip, go get it later.
You hired the musician too, didn't you?
I did. So I wanted to find a reggae musician that could play our song, which is Coldplay Yellow. I wanted him to play our song for the proposal. And I was like, if she sees this dude walking up with these cameras, she's going to be like, what the hell is this? So I paid them all to hang out for an hour. I forgot that part at the beginning. Yeah, the musician was walking around playing music for an hour for hotel guests. So they finally get up to our cabana, and he looks up. Can I play a song for you up there? And I'm like, yes, please. And she's like, yeah. And so he comes up. He plays a Bob Marley song. And then he's like, anything else you guys like? Any requests? And she's like, I don't know. No, I think it's okay. Thank you so much. I was like, I mean, do you know Yellow? And he's like, oh, yeah, I know Yellow. She's like, stop it. Don't ask him to play Yellow. Leave him alone. Let him go work. Let him go get more money. And then he's like, look at the stars, like in this really dope reggae version of that song. And then, yeah, I proposed then, and it was perfect. And then we looked down, and the funniest part is that all of the people that were down there getting sang to for like the hour were basically like staged extras because it was a very empty part of the resort. And so as Sabina was getting ready for lunch, I was ready looking out the window, watching them set it all up. And I saw the hotel staff placing people on hammocks, placing people over by the giant chessboard, over here walking on the beach, so that it would be crowded enough for people to come and get played music for. And so when we got engaged, now, like we're dancing, we're like crying, all the good stuff. And I looked down, and we have like 40 people below cheering and going crazy, like, yeah. Those were our
your own little audience.
And it was it was freaking awesome. And then the next day had a bunch of or I guess that night actually had a bunch of friends show up and surprise her to celebrate with us for a few days in Jamaica.
That actually I did my honeymoon in Jamaica at Ochos Rios. We were down there, but I actually had to go to Bob Marley's place and check it out. I'm like, I gotta go check this place out. So that was on one of my things on my bucket list. I kind of had to take over. But you started, and before we kind of move into like music and everything else, you started Rich's Rescue recently. Talk about that, because, dude, I love it. And my wife had a husky named Abby as well. So I definitely want you to tell me all about Rich's Rescue, man.
Yeah, so Rich's Rescue is my charity, or I wouldn't call it a charity organization, but it's just about bringing attention to rescue animals in the cities that I'm touring. And so my social media presence is always heightened in specific cities I'm in the day I'm there. Like if I'm playing in Chicago, people from Chicago, fans from Chicago are going to look at my Instagram stories more than when I'm not in Chicago. So I was like, man, why don't, oh my God, the picture's so old. I was like, why don't, if these people like fans are going to be looking at my page, like, oh man, I wish I could come to the show tonight, or I can't wait for the show tonight, or are you going to our favorite restaurant? I want to force feed them all these dogs and cats that need homes in their city. So in the mornings when we're in these towns, I'll go to a shelter and I'll meet a bunch of the animals and I'll showcase them on my page and tell everybody in Chicago that these animals need homes. And then on my main page, I'll focus on the special cases, like the dog that's got 3 legs, you know, the 2 dogs that have to get adopted together, the dog that's been there for 7 years. And almost all of them have been adopted by fans. And so it's been just
Awesome.
so freaking cool, especially the updates, man. You know, like I'll get really attached to a dog, like this dog Blossom that was in Ohio, and she had really, really bad heartworm, 99%. She was about to die. She was in a cage for 3 months trying to get over it. The day I came there was the first day that she'd completely beat it and was going to be allowed to go outside. And she was a Shepherd Husky mix. And she went outside with me and got to run for the first time in 3 years. And she did laps for like 30 minutes in the snow. And I was so attached to this dog, I was about to take her back to Nashville. And then a fan hit me up. And she's like, oh my God, I'm going to go adopt this dog right now. And then that fan still, to this day, sends me like every couple months, will send me pictures and videos of the dog with updates. Like, look how big she's getting, you know, and look how healthy she is. And it's just so rewarding. It's something I'm extremely passionate about. And we brought in a 16-year-old Samoyed Husky mix that was in a neglected situation over quarantine that needed a new home, and he's hanging out. That's Molly. Look at Molly. That's Abby's baby.
I love it, man, because I'm a huge dog fan, and when I started reading and researching you, I came across Rich's Rescue, and it's something I wanted to bring attention to and talk about a little bit. Before we really start talking about music and everything else, we are going to play a little quick game here in a minute called Hot Seat, quick 60 seconds. But I wanted to talk about Leave Her Wild for a quick minute because it's one of my favorite songs. And I love the message in it because it's definitely something that you really don't really hear. And I like more unique songs. And you guys met at Stagecoach. And I met my wife at you probably know, Country Thunder in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. And it's just like we met at a concert, and we met somewhere that it's where she was wild, where she was in her element. And it's something where I look into the whole song, and I just wanted you to talk about it for real quick.
Yeah, Leave Her Wild. Sabina, the second I met her, she was just this energy. She's just like this. She's goofy. She's so herself 24/7. And I'd been in relationships in the past where I wasn't allowed to be myself. You know, I felt like I was changed and molded into who they wanted me to be. And she had told me a similar story. And when I met her friends back home for the first time in Massachusetts, they were like, thank you. And they were thanking me. I was like, for what? They're like, we finally have our friend back. You know, she's herself when she's with you. And so it was kind of then I realized like how important it was and how like stifled she had been in her past. And her favorite quote was "Love her, but leave her wild" by this poet named Atticus. And I was like, man, that's your favorite quote. That is you. I was like, why don't I write the song about just forever letting you be yourself and never trying to change you to who I could think, you know, you could be. And it's just kind of like a message to anybody to just love people for who they are, regardless of, you know, what that means.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, and leave them the way you found them almost like, and I love the message is like, because a lot of people, you get into the relationship, and after we've been married now, we've been together 15 years. You always think things change, or people are like, oh, it goes stale, this and that. It doesn't. As long as you leave her wild and you kind of stay the way you were when you first met, I really think that song speaks volumes, man. I just love it, and I really think that's a good way to think, man. So I wanted to really start that song, talk about that song. But
Thanks,
one of my favorites, dude. All right, so we're going to go into this. I'm going to throw a couple more pictures real quick. I know you're a 49ers fan, so we got to throw that up there. I kept my boy Kittle this year. I'm a huge Tucker Beathard fan, and I went to see him in Iowa a couple years ago. And after the show, I got to hang out with CJ and Kittle. And it was really cool that they got drafted together and got to go to the same team together. So it was really nice.
Absolutely.
All right.
They're great, man. Both of them. Great.
Oh, dude. Yeah, definitely. And I know the Bethard family went through some times this year, but that whole family together. I mean, I don't know if you ever got a chance to write with Casey or not, but if you ever get a chance to, that guy
Yeah, I
has the
have.
power.
He's a
I
monster. So
love
good.
the higher powers he speaks of and what he puts into his songwriting. Definitely Casey Bethard is one of my favorites. All right, let's go into. All right, we're gonna play a quick game. I'm gonna ask you 9 rapid fire questions, 60 seconds. We never get through them in 60 seconds, but let's see what happens. Throw some music on. All right, if you had a dream music crossroads episode, 2 artists, 2 genres, who would it be?
John Fogerty.
You and John Fogerty?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, is it me and somebody, or is it?
Wait, it doesn't matter. 2 artists, 2 genres.
Yeah, John Fogerty and myself.
Yeah, all right. I love it. That'd be some good center field right there, man.
Oh man, it'd be awesome. What
Your
a dream.
first cassette tape you ever owned?
Oh man, I know my first CD. My first CD was Bush 16 Stone, and I believe my first cassette tape was Batman and Robin. Was Batman Forever soundtrack.
Dude, I remember that was awesome. Your dream venue to play that you haven't had a chance to play yet?
Madison Square Garden.
Hell yeah. Your 2020 quarantine hobby?
Running. I finally started running and enjoying it. Strange.
It was already 60 seconds. We got through 4. Oh, well. All right. Your first job. What was your first job or paying job you had?
Papa Murphy's making pizzas.
Dude, that's funny because that goes right into my next question. Your favorite pizza location? I mean, touring around the country, you probably have one location you love.
Oh, man. Anything in Chicago.
All right.
I love Chicago deep dish. In town in LA, I love Prime Pizza.
Okay. I'll have to tell my brother-in-law. He's staying down in LA for a couple months. So I'll tell him to check that place out. Your favorite Halloween costume you ever wore?
Oh man. I would say when I went as somebody from The Purge, like right when the second movie was coming out, because not many people really knew what it was yet, and people were literally terrified as I was walking down the street, and it was the perfect reaction.
Can you imagine walking down the street now with that alarm going on? Jeez. Everybody be like, what? One song you wish you wrote?
Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror.
Dude, I love that song. That's one of my favorites. I actually just went by his childhood home about a month ago in Gary, Indiana. It was just really cool to see all that. The last one is one item that's on your bucket list.
Skydiving. I don't know if I'll do it, but it's on there.
Yeah, I've always I would love to do it, but I don't think I'd ever do it.
Yeah, I'd love to, but I don't think I'm going to.
Exactly. So the first song I'm going to ask you to do before we close everything out. Oh, I might move everything around. There we go. 1111, man. I know that's the one that you didn't have a hand in writing, but Andrew Dorff was one of his last songs or his last batch. He passed away in 2016. Famous country singer, songwriter. But tell me about what the song means to you, man.
Man, this song, it's if you don't count Michael Jackson, it's the only this and The Difference are the only two I didn't write on the record. And it was a pitch that came to me, and I knew Andrew enough, before he passed that I had an emotional attachment to it right away. But Lindsey Rhymes, my producer, wrote it with John Knight, who I write all the time with, and it just. Everything about the song was the type of song that I would write. It felt like me. It felt like, I knew the guys that wrote it very well, and they're 100% my style. And so when they wrote it and sent it to me, I was like, man, I have to have this song. There's such a vulnerability and an angst in the vocal and the lyric, I'm sorry. And it's just, I was just so immediately drawn to that desperate heart, like that heartbreak, that desperation of like, it's 11:11 and I've got one wish, and that is just to all I want is this back, to give, even just to say what I should have said.
Are you a superstitious person? Like, do you believe in 11:11?
I believe in anything that I think might help us out.
Okay.
I agree. So I'll still make wishes on 11:11.
I was having a really crappy time last year, and I kept seeing 11:11, and I started researching, and I'm like, this is wild because the littlest things show up in the most vulnerable moments, I think. And when I kept seeing that, and then when I first heard this song, I was like, it kind of all came together for me. So that's why I wanted to pick this song for the show for sure. All right, man.
Yeah, there's never a time I see 11:11 and I don't make a wish.
For sure, dude. I'll turn it over to you.
Black coffee from a Texaco. Lotto ticket, cause you never know. Another up all night, moving slow. It's 11 a.m., girl, I'm good to go. Leather buckets, yeah, the seats get hot. Window down, wind just cooling it off. No, it ain't a red light making me stop. There's 4 ones on the dashboard clock. It's 11:11, I can't help make a wish. I wish you wouldn't have left the way that you did. Why the hell did I say things that I didn't mean? Why didn't I say you were everything, everything? 11:11, I hope it's there on your phone, thinking of me and you ain't being alone like I do. I hope you miss me like I miss you. It's 11:11. It's 12 on 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it's 2 for 1s with the guys. The sun sets, white stars start to rise. It's about to be a damn good night. Then it's 10 o'clock and we all pay. We all go our own separate ways. Turn the key a little bit dazed, cause right there on a microwave. It's 11:11, I can't help make a wish. I wish you wouldn't have left the way that you did. Why the hell did I say things that I didn't mean? Didn't I say you were everything, everything? 11:11, I hope it's there on your phone, thinking of me and you ain't being alone like I do. I hope you miss me like I miss you, girl. It's 11:11, 11:11, girl. It's 11:11, and I miss you. I do.
Man, I love that one. Hey, you have a fan in the background, it sounded like.
Yeah, my wife Sabina's keeping the dogs in check while I do this.
I heard when we were talking about Rich's Rescue earlier, I heard mine upstairs barking. I'm like, guys, come on, just calm down, dogs. So
like,
that was awesome, man. I love that song. I really hope everybody in the chat got to hear that. And it's just an amazing song. Definitely go and check out the new album coming out this Friday. But we're going to go ahead and close off with one more song, Feels Like Home. And I just want to talk about that really before you start singing. It's kind of one that came up this year, and the new video came out yesterday, and the video was amazing. You had a bunch of friends make cameos, and you just kind of recapped what you've been doing in quarantine. And tell me about making that video. It's what it meant to you.
Yeah, it was. It's everybody I wish I could hang out with right now during quarantine. You know, it's that song Feels Like Home is written about unfamiliar people and unfamiliar places feeling like home as I tour across the country. And, you know, so I was like, man, if I got to record my part at home, I should make all of my friends in other random places that feel like home record theirs at home as well. And so it's a bunch of my closest friends from like all over, people I've gotten to meet on the road and everything over the years, and partying and just having the best time in their own home.
Yeah, you guys look like you're having so much fun. I was watching that yesterday. I was like, this is an amazing video. So, man, I cannot wait. I want everybody to hear the song. So I'll go ahead and leave and let everybody hear It Feels Like Home.
All right.
Some out-of-tone singers sing songs we grew up on. Lines fly like darts as some guy tries to look on. Prettiest girl, you ain't got a shot with. It feels like home. It's just on the battle lane. David Lee Murphy, 2 for 1 drinking. I ain't even thirsty. In this kind of crowd, there ain't no one alone. It feels like home. I came here tonight to forget why I'm here. You with me, then why don't you raise up a bear? Dance with a stranger that you'd like to know, 'cause it feels like home. This hole in the wall has a hell of a view. If you order one more, you'll see it too. When they last call the lights, no, you won't want to go, 'cause it feels like home. Whiskey and want to get stirred up together. Make ups and breakups, and I swear I'll be better. Pull up to see, enjoy the free show. Feels like home. Came here tonight to forget why I'm here. With me, then why don't you raise up a bear and dance with a stranger that you'd like to know? 'Cause it feels like home. This hole in the wall has a hell of a view. If you order one more, you'll see it too. When they last call the lights, no, you won't want to go. 'Cause it feels like home. Sometimes I wish that these doors couldn't close. 'Cause it feels like home. So love who you love and smoke what you smoke. 'Cause it feels like home.
Love that one, man. I gotta say, I love the ending it because I just started working at a cannabis dispensary this year, so I love the end of that song. Definitely one of my favorites.
Smoke what you smoke.
Yeah, right.
I
So,
love it.
thank you so much, man, for spending some time with me tonight. I really hope the audience got to know where you came from and just really your backbone in this industry, man. Because you're personally one of my favorites because you're a hard worker and you tell. You worked really hard to where you got to and where you're coming to on Friday. So I want to wish you the best debut album release you're going to have. And any chance we're going to get this on CD or vinyl in the future?
I'm hoping for vinyl.
All right.
I'm hoping for vinyl. That's the plan.
I'm a vinyl fan. That's why I had to ask, man. I'm okay with those CDs, but I'm like, I love vinyl, man. Like, I actually still have my parents' 1969 vinyl record player, like the first piece of furniture they bought when they moved to Chicago, and that's why I listen to my vinyl on. So
I love that. So much.
so definitely,
Yeah, vinyl's the goal.
all right, I love it. Thank you so much, man. I'm gonna share all the links for you guys to find Tyler Rich. But thanks for sitting down and spend some time with me tonight, buddy.
This was awesome to chat, man. Thanks for having me, Aaron.
I'll see you in Chicago next time you come around, buddy.
Yes, sir.
All right, take it easy. All right, guys, another amazing and fun show. I love that. That was awesome. Yes, he said vinyl. I saw that, guys. I had to ask. I saw earlier somebody said in the chat about CD and vinyl. So I had to ask because I'm a vinyl snob, man. I love me some vinyl. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. It was another amazing show. I had a blast tonight, and especially with Tyler, just getting to know the guy personally. And just finding out where he came from and what really kind of pushed him. Thanks, Leslie. I really appreciate that. Just really where he came from and the path he's taken. And I wanted to have him on because it reminded me, like I said earlier, of kind of like when I saw church starting off and building his fan base, 5 fans to 10 fans to 15 fans. And I know Tyler was doing that. He had the social media aspect of it. And I'm glad that him and I got to talk about how he grew his Instagram. Because, I mean, a lot of the artists back in the day, when I really started watching all this in the street teams and everything else, you didn't have your MySpace and Facebooks and Instagrams and stuff to really help you and give you that push. So it was really cool to see how Tyler used that to his advantage. But thank you guys once again for joining us tonight. Check everything out. Show notes are going to be over there. Check our Patreon out if you can. Annual memberships are live, which people love it. Right now, if you go and check out the annual membership, you get a month free. Any tier, you get a month free. So, yeah. Next week, guys, we are wrapping up our 2nd season. And I'm having somebody on that some of you guys might know out there. But we're gonna have a fun one next week. So I'm gonna introduce you guys to somebody that you guys might not know or might know, but more of just who my wife is and what she has accomplished in her life. She is a nurse and she has done some really cool things, and she has put up with me for many, many years. So I couldn't think of any better way or any way better or whatever. It's past my bedtime, but I couldn't think of any way better to end season 2 and to kick off season 3 than to have her on and really just to kind of see what keeps her ticking and keeps me going, right? So thank you guys again for everything. August was amazing, having that many downloads of the show, and the growth is so amazing. Wait till you see what's going on in season 3, because we got some cool stuff coming. So be good. Every week I say, love your neighbor, do something kind for somebody tomorrow if you can, and we'll see you next Tuesday night.
The Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Shriver is brought to you by Arlo Revolution. As we close the book on another chapter, remember, music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. Next week, Aaron connects more melodies and memories with other fans and the artists they love. Thanks for being a part of this musical journey, and we'll see you next time on the Gainin Fast on Memphis podcast with Aaron Shriver.